The living room of the Johnsons' home was buzzing with life on that Saturday afternoon. Sunlight streamed through the wide windows, illuminating the family portraits that lined the walls. In the center of the room, Emily Johnson, a 24-year-old graduate student with sharp eyes and a soft smile, leaned against the armrest of the couch. She had come home from college for the weekend, and her parents had been thrilled to have the whole family together again. Her father, Richard Johnson, a tall man with graying hair and a calm demeanor, sat across from her in his favorite recliner. He was sipping on a cup of coffee, the steam rising in slow curls. Emily's mother, Linda, was bustling around the kitchen just beyond the archway, humming softly while preparing snacks for everyone. And then there was Emily's younger brother, Ethan, only 18 and still in high school, sprawled across the other couch with his phone in hand, occasionally smirking at something on the screen. At first, everything felt like one of those picture-perfect family moments. They laughed about old memories, Ethan teased Emily about her serious college lifestyle, and Richard shared a few stories from his work as a local contractor. It was warm, it was easy, and it was familiar. But as often happens in families, one small comment shifted the atmosphere. "So, Emily," Richard began, setting his coffee on the side table. "How's everything going with Mark?" Emily blinked. Mark was her boyfriend, someone she had been dating for a little over a year. She hadn't expected her father to bring him up so casually, especially since she hadn't talked much about her relationship with her family. "It's fine," Emily replied, her voice a touch guarded. "We're good." "Fine," Ethan chimed in from the couch, lowering his phone. "That doesn't sound like good. Sounds like you're dodging the question." Emily shot him a look. "I'm not dodging anything. We're good. He's just been busy with work lately." Linda entered the room at that moment, carrying a tray of snacks, bowls of popcorn, crackers with cheese, and some freshly cut fruit. She placed the tray on the coffee table and looked between Emily and Richard. "What's this about Mark?" she asked lightly, though her tone carried curiosity. Richard shrugged. "Just asking how they're doing. You know, making sure everything's on track." Emily sighed, feeling the familiar heat rise in her cheeks. "Dad, it's not a business deal. It's my relationship. Everything doesn't have to be on track." Ethan grinned mischievously, clearly enjoying the tension building in the room. "I bet Mark's the one who's dragging his feet. Doesn't he always look like he's about to run away when he comes over here?" "Ethan," Linda scolded, though she was stifling a smile. Emily's embarrassment grew. "That's not true. He just gets nervous around new people, okay." The family chuckled, but for Emily, the moment felt uncomfortably raw. She hadn't wanted to discuss Mark here, in the middle of the living room, with her parents and younger brother poking fun. It wasn't just about Mark, it was about her own uncertainty. Though she cared for him deeply, there were times she wondered if their relationship truly had a future. She hadn't even admitted that to herself completely, let alone to her family. As the room grew quiet for a moment, Richard leaned back in his chair and said thoughtfully, "You know, when your mother and I started dating, we had our share of doubts too. But at some point, you just have to decide if this is the person you want by your side, through everything." Emily glanced at him, her father's words striking closer to her hidden fears than she would have liked. She looked away, her eyes on the popcorn bowl, not ready to continue this conversation. Sensing her discomfort, Linda quickly changed the subject. "Well, let's not scare Emily away with all this serious talk. Ethan, why don't you show your sister that new song you've been practicing on the guitar?" Ethan groaned. "Mom, not now. I'm not ready to perform." "Oh, come on," Richard teased. "You're always playing that thing upstairs. Give us a show." Ethan rolled his eyes but finally got up and headed to his room. Emily exhaled, grateful for the distraction, though she still felt the awkwardness hanging in the air. When Ethan returned with his guitar, he plopped back down and began strumming a few chords. The sound filled the room, light and cheerful. Emily found herself smiling again, leaning back into the couch as her brother stumbled through a few verses of a song he had written himself. It was imperfect but endearing, and for a while, the earlier tension faded. They clapped when he finished, and Ethan bowed dramatically, earning more laughter. But then came the surprise that none of them had expected. As Ethan set the guitar aside, he looked at Emily with a mischievous glint. "By the way, speaking of relationships, you all know about Emily and Mark. But guess what? I've got some news of my own." Richard raised an eyebrow. "News? What kind of news?" Ethan grinned wider. "I've been seeing someone too." The room froze. Emily's jaw dropped, and Linda's hands paused mid-reach for the fruit bowl. Richard blinked in confusion. You? Emily asked, stunned. You're 18, Ethan. So what? People date in high school, Ethan shot back, defensive but proud. Her name's Sarah. She's in my class. We've been hanging out for a couple months. Linda gasped. A couple of months. And you didn't tell us? Ethan shrugged, smirking. Didn't think you'd take it seriously. But yeah, it's serious. She even met up with me at the football game last week. Richard chuckled, shaking his head. Well, I'll be, my son, hiding a girlfriend from us. That's a first. Emily laughed, the earlier awkwardness shifting into something new, this time directed at Ethan. Oh, so you've been teasing me about Mark when you've been keeping secrets yourself? Ethan grinned sheepishly. Yeah, maybe. Guess I didn't want you stealing all the spotlight. The family burst into laughter, the mood lightening again. But beneath the laughter, Emily felt a flicker of curiosity. If Ethan was serious about this Sarah, it meant their family dynamics might be shifting. The baby of the family wasn't such a baby anymore. What no one realized was how this revelation would lead to a string of awkward, unexpected, and eventually heartwarming moments that none of them could have predicted. Because as the afternoon wore on, Sarah herself would soon walk through the Johnsons' front door, changing the entire tone of the gathering, and leaving Emily with a surprise that forced her to re-examine her own relationship in a way she hadn't before.